Hi, this is BJ from Digital Mind. I'm just shooting a short video on how to find a good web designers on Odesk. First point I like to bring up is basically to build up a reputation as a good employer on Odesk. And the way to do that is basically by putting out 3 to 5 small jobs. Make sure that when you put out the jobs, that the jobs are relatively small. It doesn't have to be anything larger than $10 each, and they can really be on any type of work. So an easy example of work is, for instance, articles. There's a lot of article writers on Odesk, so just put out maybe 3 to 5 article jobs and make sure to give very specific, detailed instructions. Another tip when you're sending out those instructions is to ask to get the articles back within 24 hours so that you can get this done fairly quickly. Secondly, put out a very simple design brief. In the design brief, make sure to specify the number of pages, the purpose of the website, whether or not you need a logo, social media integration if you need that. Specify that you need coding and design, and also specify the technical platform. In most cases, WordPress will be the type of platform that works the best for most design briefs. If it's a little bit more complicated, then you might like to go with a different type of technical setup, but in most cases WordPress will do. Now, if you manage to cover these points, then you should have more than enough information for the web designer to basically make an estimate on what price they're willing to offer you for the work that you give them. The third point I'd like to raise is to shortlist the applicants that you get. If you, for instance, put out simple WordPress projects for about 6 to 8 pages, and you specify a budget to be around $500 US, you should get between 50 to 150 applicants. Just keep in mind that most of these will be rubbish. Now, by that I mean that their cover letters will be bad. They will have portfolios that basically show you bad design, and they will have feedback which basically tells you that you're not really dealing with good designers to work with. So the way that I suggest you deal with that is to be effective in your shortlisting. So I would suggest you would shortlist the native English speakers first, because there's less cultural differences when you work with someone that shares your cultural background. Secondly, shortlist those that actually replied to your job ad. It's actually very surprising to realize that there's not a lot of applicants that takes the time to actually reply to what it is that you're asking. Instead, they send out a very generic cover letter, which is the same thing that they've sent out to all the other applicants, all the other job ads, that they put out. And as a result of that, they put themselves out of the race. And finally, consider their portfolios. When you have gone through the shortlisting process, it should be fairly simple to just look at the portfolios and identify whether or not they have the skills that you're after. 4. Question about 5 to 10 candidates. Now, you might be in a situation where you're down to really 2 or 3, because you just realize that there's not that many good candidates for what it is that you're actually looking for. So if that is the case, just go with that. In this process, when you're questioning candidates, I think it's very important to be patient and to not get rushed. There's a lot of candidates that will try to get you to go for them by trying to get you away from Odesk and exchange Skype details with you. You are not in a rush. You're just looking to get the the best possible applicant, and ideally you're looking for someone you can work with again and again and again, so you don't have to repeat this process. And a very simple way for you to find a candidate like that is to start by asking, well, how do you design to maximize conversion? Now, this is a question that very quickly can separate those that know what they're doing from those that know design. Because there's a lot of designers out there that have a design background, that know how to make a site look good. But that is not the same as knowing how to design a website that can make you money, that can get the visitors to your site to do what it is that you want them to do. That takes more of a marketing focus and more of a marketing understanding, which is actually very rare with designers. Thirdly, consider how fast applicants reply. If you send out questions to them, do they get back to you within 24 hours? Ideally, you're looking for applicants that are able to be in your time zone and able to apply within hours. And finally, consider the quality of their replies. Do they answer your questions? Do they go around the questions? Do they steer away from the content? Do you get a feeling that they're actually understanding what it is that you are asking them? The best applicants, the best people that I've hired personally have been the ones that have managed to get the question and come up with answers that make me understand that they have an understanding for the topic that goes beyond the question that I initially asked. And 5, consider giving a test assignment. If you're uncertain or the project is really big, it might make sense to create a smaller assignment to test out the applicant that you're dealing with. That could, for instance, be a landing page or a logo. When you put out this test, make sure that you make it a separate assignment and that you pay for the test. Give very detailed instructions, and if it is a landing page in particular, it would make sense to create mock-ups. Generally, the more specific instructions you give, the easier it is for designers in particular to work with you and deliver exactly what it is that you want. 6, select an applicant. After you've selected an applicant, try to act as professional as possible by creating a mock-up of the homepage. The homepage is really, I would say, the majority of the design work for most websites. That is because once you've created the homepage, just adding extra pages for the rest of the site is fairly easy. It's mainly about just adding the text and a few of the images, but it's that bit of the design process is really something that most users without a technical background can do themselves. Secondly, deliver copies and images immediately. There's few things that can be more frustrating for a designer than receiving files and copies and instructions that actually change from the moment they've started doing the work until it's actually finished, because it takes more time and it makes the client come across as being wavery and not really being very serious and professional. Thirdly, make yourself available every 24 hours. Now this is important because whoever is working for you needs to have the opportunity to work with you and to adjust whatever drafts that they have, and to be able to get a very clear understanding of what it is that you want, so that they can deliver the quality work that you're after. And when you then communicate with someone who you're working with, it's also a good idea to be willing to admit errors, to try to clarify the best way you possibly can, and try to be understanding that the person that you're working with might have a different way of communicating than what you have. Also be willing to adjust your feedback to the person, which goes a little bit to what I just mentioned. you could be dealing with someone who have a different way of communicating, have a different way of expression. Particularly graphic designers are very used to dealing with images, which comes natural with design, while you might be more of an auditory person. Finally, be open to admit mistakes. If there's an error in your brief, in particular, if something has been explained in a way that turns out to be wrong, if it can be done better, be willing to say to the designer, well, I might be wrong there. This is also very good in terms of having good communication with the designer, and being able to take whatever it is that you're doing to a higher level. And finally, make sure to end the project professionally. And by that I mean basically 2 or 3 things. Mainly pay on time, which is as soon as the project have been delivered. Not necessarily what is the time frame that is specified in the contract or on Odesk when the project is delivered. Secondly, give appropriate feedback. If you feel that someone has gone beyond, have delivered more than what you expected, make sure that you say that on the feedback on LinkedIn. And finally, I would suggest that for those that have delivered beyond and really gone out of their way, offer to give them testimonials on LinkedIn. It's a good way to show to them that you're willing to actually promote them and allow them to get more work in a setting where they could actually get paid more than what they do on Odesk. And it's also a nice tip on the hat, showing your values to them, that you are willing to not only pay them, but to support them in their career. And that's about it. If you'd like to see more videos like this, just go to digitalmind.com.